The Last of Us TV series is only a few days away, and I've had to cover a lot of bad news surrounding it because they've practically thrown all of the base work of the games out the window and have created something almost entirely new for the show. And now, of course, critic reviews are out, and the shills love it without even acknowledging the fact that it doesn't follow source material. I have a bunch of different things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and to the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So as you can see, the show is getting rave reviews from critics. It is at a 97% audience score on Rotten Tomato, and it has gone down a little bit because it initially launched at 100%, but of course 3% really doesn't matter. The critics are absolutely loving it, but I don't really find the reviews to be too useful because they are talking about some of the plot elements and the storylines, but these people clearly do not know the original game. There are even a couple of outlets here who should know the games and who say, oh wow, it really follows the game, but they're not actually acknowledging all of the changes that this show makes. Now, of course, I have not seen it. It doesn't come out for a couple more days, but we have heard a lot from the creators of this series. We've heard a lot from Neil Druckmann, from Craig Mazin, saying that they've changed a lot with this show. As you can see, I posted this not very long ago. I said at least the character names are the same because there are so many articles releasing saying that they have changed so freaking much. This one says why HBO's Last of Us removed most of the game's violence. The next one says the Last of Us series changes how the infection spreads, and the co-creators explain why. The Last of Us HBO show has major timeline change from the video game. Here's what's different, and why the Last of Us TV show changed virus spores to tendrils. So the more we have heard about this show, the more confused I personally have become, because I loved the original game. I thought Last of Us 1 was fantastic. I thought the pacing was pretty good, the action was good, combat, story, it all was very solid. But then The Last of Us Part 2 came out and it crushed all of my hopes and dreams for this franchise. They basically threw out what fans wanted, and they tried to create something that was different and that people weren't expecting, and that meant killing off one of the main characters, and people were not ready to let go of him. It felt very forced, and it just felt like they wanted to put another female in the spotlight, so they had to get rid of the male. And ever since then, I haven't really been that interested in The Last of Us. I honestly just kind of blocked the show from my memory because I was very afraid of what they were going to do with it. And again, the more that I and all of us have heard, the more worried we've become. And now we're getting a show that really doesn't follow any of the source material besides it's called The Last of Us and the character names are the same. But as you can see, critics are loving it. They're giving it 4 out of 5s, 5 out of 5s, and even 10 out of 10, saying it is just perfection. They're saying things like the flashback sequences lend necessary depth to a series that sometimes sins for being too straightforward. The next says even if The Last of Us treads familiar ground, it is still a gripping and ambitious work that seems fated to become the premium cable network's next Twitter trending hit. It is, probably gonna be successful. They put a lot of money into it. They have a lot of notable actors in it. Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey. I do think that it's going to be considered successful, but at what cost? By throwing out the source material and acting like the games didn't exist, they have pissed off all of the game fans, and I hope it was worth it for them, but I don't think it's going to be. I think that when the show releases, users are going to give it bad reviews because it simply doesn't follow source material basically at all from what we've heard. It really does bother me that none of these reviews are bringing up the fact that it is so vastly different from the video game. And again, they must just not know. But if they don't know, then these people shouldn't be reviewing these shows, period. I mean, they even say things like the show does a great job of keeping the beats that made the game such a fascinating one for fans to dive into, but you're not actually bringing up the fact that it doesn't deserve a 10 out of 10 because it is not accurate to the original material. That is just really bothersome to me. I know that these, reviewers don't actually care about the source material, but as someone who, should be excited for this show because I like the first game, this looks really, really bad. And it does look like they're just shilling, giving it 10 out of 10 so that they hopefully can continue to stay on this company's good side and see things early and get scoops early. Critics are also saying things like plenty of plot details in it that might feel conventional, but the show still offers a rich genre stew with the kind of high-budget flavor that sets tentpole HBO productions apart from their straight-to-streaming counterparts. Masterfully tense and deeply emotional, it delivers all the nail-biting action we expect from the genre, but makes sure to ground it in authentic human emotion too. The Last of Us is a stunning accomplishment of writing, directing, and acting that once again has HBO raising the bar to what television can do. And while the critics are just eating the show up, they're loving it, people on social media feel a little bit differently, of course. News outlets like Discussing Film have been posting that it debuted, with a rare 97 to 100%, like on Rotten Tomatoes. People in the comments are very hesitant on this show, saying things like, are you sure that it deserves that? Are critics really sure they should be giving it 100%? People are even saying things like bought and paid for reviews. Then yeah, I just don't really see any content being 100% a 10 out of 10. It being so freaking perfect that there's absolutely no flaws that anyone can find, because right off the bat I find flaws that it doesn't follow that original video game that it is based on. That to me is a flaw, and right there, it's down to at least like a 9 out of 10. People saying things like, yeah, I'm thinking a 5-star. I hope that people enjoy this show. I hope that it is not absolutely terrible. I hope that people like it, but I just feel like there's going to be a difference in audience. There are going to be a group of people who absolutely love it because they don't know the original source material and they're just looking at it as a standalone show saying, wow, this is great. And then there's going to be the other group of people who know the original material, who know the video games, who say this is way different, it's not as good, or it's just so different I can't connect with it. People are also bringing up The Last of Us Part 2 and just how terribly that went over. Of course, critics also loved it. 95 out of 100 critic reviews, but the user scores were very different, sitting at a 3.4, and this is, Metacritic, so just not looking too good. It's looking like a very similar situation there. Only time will tell. It does release in a few days, so maybe it'll be absolutely amazing, but I do not trust critics, and you probably shouldn't either. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.